Welcome, everybody. This is Genesis Office Hours, episode number 17, and today we have some amazing intro music courtesy of Jesse Petersen soundboard, and also joined by Rob New, Florida transplant, Texas. Welcome, guys.
Thanks.
Hey, what's up?
Oh, you know, just living life, living the dream.
Yeah.
Hello to everyone also who is joining us over on Twitter using the hashtag GOHchat. Yeah, so let's do some introductions. Robert, who are you? Because people probably never seen you before.
Yes, I'm sure I'm very anonymous. I'm Robert New, and I do all kinds of stuff. I run Audit WP, and we've got this new theme company that we're working on called Flagship. So,
and that little thing, something about bacon?
yeah, we've got that podcast that we've been kind of slowing down on a little bit lately.
All right, well. And Jesse, what do you do?
I've been doing WordPress since 2008 for companies. I started doing it just helping people figure out what to do when they screw up their FTP, and oh my gosh, my website is now gone. And I've been doing Petersen Media Group, my own company, since '09, and it's what I do all day right here in our house's nursery.
Sweet. I am your host, Carrie Dills, and you are listening to Genesis Office Hours. A couple ways you can be involved. If you go to the link at the bottom of my screen there, carriedills.com/GOH, you can watch the video, and there's a little Twitter pop-up. If you hate Twitter's guts, there is also if you go over to Google Plus and look for the Genesis Office Hours community, type that in, and you can participate with the event right there as well. All right, so we've got some questions. Jason Hobbs he must have stayed up really late trying to think of questions for us, and he just pummeled the GOH chat. So we'll start in with him. Whoa, there it is. Okay. This is for both of you guys. Mind sharing your approach from a macro view to creating a new theme code-wise? And Jesse, for you, in terms of maybe client customization, and Rob, for you, maybe what you're doing more themes to release to the public. So, Rob, I'll let you go first.
Wow, that's a loaded question, man. I try to make sure that it's not going to be horrible and make people want to kill me after I release it. So I that's my foremost thought when I start working on a theme. I want to make sure that it's going to be like, I find it hard to balance between like what I would consider to be like development best practices and like what I think a newcomer to kind of coding is going to be able to work with, because they don't always necessarily coincide 100%. So I try to strike a balance between that as best as I can, just for my own like mental sanity of being able to work with the team moving forward, and then also for other people's sanity that they don't have to, learn every nook and cranny of PHP to be able to work with something that I'm building, because that's not fun. So I don't know if that answers the question, but that's kind of my thought process when I'm working on a theme.
Yeah, that's I think a great rule of thumb to use. I know in doing themes in the past, there's some things that are technically maybe a little bit more efficient, like say the way that you're registering your widget areas or whatnot. But it doesn't look like the way all other StudioPress themes look like in functions.php, so
right.
You don't want to generate unnecessary support request just because you've done something a little bit differently than the way the masters do it. Jesse, have any input on that one?
I like to make sure that their site's still going to work in a year. I have made some mistakes in the past where I go back to their site and the way I've built it is completely wrong at this point, so I try to do as much forward thinking as I can. I try to use the Studio Press plugins or the ones from my small circle of developers where I know that they're going to continue to update the plugins, not stray too far into, finding a plugin that does the job and having no clue who they are is where I try to stay safe, code-wise.
Cool. All right. Rob, Jason wanted to thank you for introducing him to Bourbon.io. And let's see, I forget what he. Oh, any tips for organizing variables or mix-ins that you must use? And to put a little bit of context around this, Jason's referring to using Sass, and Sass is it's CSS, but it's just kind of cooler CSS, and then it gets compiled into what you're typically used to looking at CSS. And there are libraries of mix-ins that you can use with Sass, and Bourbon is one of those. Did I get all that out correctly, Rob?
Yeah, I think that's all about right. I am a relative newcomer to this whole world, and I really really like working with Sass now that I've kind of gotten used to it and worked with it a bit. And one of the things that I like about it the most is the way that it allows you to kind of compartmentalize things, which just is very helpful for my brain in general. I don't do well with like huge chunks of like functionality or even big long style sheets, and so Sass allows you to split up things into kind of smaller, easier to manage chunks that you're not able to do with standard CSS, because if you were just to do that and then put a whole bunch of imports into your main style sheet, your site is going to load like crap, and it's just not a good idea. So Sass allows you to get around that by doing it before it actually compiles, and then the end result is one of those big style sheets that nobody wants to actually manage. So that's one of the main things that I really like about working with Sass. And then there is the whole, the variables and mix-ins. And to answer that question, I guess, like looking at the way that Bourbon's bitters library has organized their kind of variable structure and some of their like defaults and stuff, that's a good place to start if you're looking at how to organize like your variable files and your mix-in files and stuff like that. And there's also a lot of other projects out there that are using things like that you can reference to kind of get an idea of how to go about doing that.
Cool. I was just asking Jason. I was just asking Rob that same question yesterday. I was setting up a Genesis starter theme using Sass, and basically stripped out all the what am I trying to say? Each section of the CSS into partial files, and then went through and added some variables in. And anyways, I was bugging Rob quite a bit yesterday on the Skypes. Woohoo! Let's see. Jackie has a question. Most Studio Press Genesis designs are flat and minimal. Is this the future?
We have an answer from Brian Gardner already.
Oh, do we? Well, I like it when he interlopes on office hours.
His answer is nope.
The design, that's obviously what Brian Gardner tends to lean to, but if you look at some of Laura Mankey's designs, they've got a very different feel to them. So a follow-up question from Jackie would be, how do you see third-party Genesis themes influencing design? I don't know, Rob, this sounds like a great question for you since you're embarking on some third-party themes with Flagship. I just set you up.
Yeah. So I guess now's probably as good a time as any to tell everybody. We originally had planned to do Genesis child themes with Flagship right out of the gate, and we've actually decided to not do that. So we are going to be creating standard standalone WordPress themes and we're going to have our own. We're not going to have a framework, so to speak, exactly, but so yeah, that's we won't exactly be in that whole third-party Genesis child theme space. So I hope we can still be kind of influential in what we're doing, but I don't know if we'll be influential in that way.
Well, maybe we'll just want to make Genesis versions of all the great designs that Flagship is putting in there.
Well, that's definitely an option. You could always do that.
Just kidding.
GPL.
GPL for the win. Yeah. So, sorry, back at the board there. So, Jackie, I don't know if that really answers your question too much. I think probably on the whole, the rest of us are influenced by what Studio Press is more than necessarily the other way around of third-party designers influencing them. I don't know. Jesse, you're awfully quiet over there.
Yeah, I was looking for a little sound bite for booing that little not doing Genesis child themes. Couldn't find it in time.
Yeah, well...
It looks like Andrea's upset.
I hate to have to kick you off the podcast, but this is Genesis office hours, not go do your own damn thing office hours.
Well, one of the things is I owe a very large debt to Genesis, and I will continue to owe that as we move forward, is because I've learned an immense amount from working with it and kind of digging through the way that the framework works and digging through a lot of things. So even though we won't be making Genesis child themes exactly, like if you're familiar with Genesis, you will be able to pick up and use these. You will see a lot of similarities and familiar things in them. So I'm not like just throwing Genesis in the garbage and running away laughing or anything like that. Like there will be an obvious correlation that you will see once we actually get them kind of out into the wild.
Well, we did see Epic kind of start the trend of the long scroll that Parallax soon followed with. So I think that if we get a designer and developer teamed up that wants to try to take something to the next level, one of the community themes could do that.
True. Hey, do you know what that
Yes,
just was?
awkward
Yes.
silence.
That was an
Yes.
awkward silence!
I bring them with me wherever I go.
Yeah, we were challenged to do awkward silences and laugh simultaneously. So yeah, congrats. We've got one night or one under our belt. A couple of questions about SAS versus less. Both are preprocessors for CSS, but Rob, how would you say that in a layman's terms?
Well, I mean, they both kind of accomplish the same goal. They just do them in a little bit different way. So, less is like JavaScript based, and SAS is originally written in Ruby, I believe. So, but the way things are kind of moving now, it's really not even a consideration anymore. And SAS has been started. They've started to integrate it into WordPress core to some extent. So that's probably the one that I would move towards. And it seems to be getting a lot more popular just in general versus less. I haven't seen a lot of projects that have been started over the past, 6 months or so that are really heavily using less. It seems like SAS has picked up a lot more steam. So if you were going to have to pick one over the other, I would probably go with SAS if you're working in WordPress. But if you're comfortable with less, I mean, there's no reason to not use it if that's what you use. I know my friend Brady Verscher still uses it quite a bit.
Oh, it just happened again. Awkward silence. Sorry, I'm going to try to insert as...
I'm just going to keep this right here.
Yeah, just keep the crickets on hand. Another question from Mr. Hobbs. Any Genesis-specific development lessons or tips you've learned and care to share? Jesse, what's your method of managing code snippets, or what's your general workflow environment?
I'm a big fan of writing them on pieces of paper and then putting them all over my desk and then hard coding them back in.
Sweet. You know, I bet that really reduces the chance of typos.
It does. I went ahead and got Code Collector Pro. I don't remember if it was in some kind of bundle pack, and I think I forgot about it for 2 years. I opened it up, and it's pretty nice. So I've got a library, and I've got folders in here. So I've got some Genesis specific and some WordPress specific stuff, CSS snippets, just stuff that I've thrown together. So I've actually got some nice Genesis things in here about body classes and HTML tags in the content limit. So it's actually not Genesis specific, but that's all I do is Genesis, so it became Genesis specific for me. So I can go ahead and share that one on Twitter for Jason. It's pretty cool because when you do a homepage and then you use the snippets, the content limit on the Genesis settings page, you lose all the formatting. Someone has multiple paragraphs and some bolding and it all goes away. This allows that to stay in there and actually look like the traditional snippets used to. So I was very happy when I found that one.
Yeah, share your link with us. And by the way, if you don't want to, if you're not checking us out on Twitter right now or listening after the fact, I always post a recap of each episode, include all the links that we talked about. So we can grab that later. Rob, did you want to chime in on any design or development tips that are Genesis specific or not?
I mean, one of the biggest tips that I've picked up from working with Genesis and some of the people in the community, like Gary in particular, is just to really be meticulous and document everything as best you can. It will save your life later. You might not think that it really matters at the time when you're building something, and it might not at that moment, but I guarantee you somewhere down the line you're going to come back to something and your brain is going to melt because you created something and you didn't think it all the way through and you didn't take the time to step back and document it. And a lot of times what I've found is during that documentation process, not only will you start to see things that you maybe didn't do correctly, because as you're writing the documentation, and I mean like inline documentation and stuff in your code, you can a lot of times see where you've like kind of left holes, and you'll actually start to rewrite things because you're like, this is an insane explanation that I'm writing about this right now, and if I need to explain it this thoroughly, I probably need to rewrite it because it's insane. So that's definitely something that I've picked up from working with Genesis, and that I've recommended everybody do as much as they can, time permitting and whatnot.
Yeah, Gary Jones shared a tip, and I don't remember where I saw it, and I'll probably completely get the advice wrong, but it was essentially if you're documenting a function and you have to go into crazy detail, like in the middle of the function on something that's happening, then it probably warrants being pulled out as its own function and then being called from that original function. It's just kind of an interesting way to think about cleaning up your code. All right, we've got lots of comments on using the GOH chat hashtag versus the old format of a chat room. And to share briefly the boring history of that, I started out with the chat room. The chat service I was using was highly unpredictable, and so ditched it, went to another chat service, but that had some limitations that were really unenjoyable. And then, as of last week, tried moving the chat to Twitter. So I took a poll over on carrydills.com to see what people thought, and it's pretty much neck and neck with people that hated using Twitter and people that were just raving fans of moving it to Twitter. And the raving fans are edging out the haters by just a tiny, tiny bit. Anyway, so I do appreciate your feedback, because obviously having you guys participate and ask questions is the whole point of the show. So I want to be able to facilitate that in the best possible way. Let's see. Devinder has a question. When is Flagship launching, and how many themes are you releasing at the start, and what about price structure?
Oh boy.
That's a 3-for-1.
Yeah, that's a question right there. So Ryan Sullivan is my partner in that, and he's like totally dead to the world this week. He's like in Alaska or something. So he has more input on some of that than I do by myself. So I don't want to go overstepping and like say too much or anything or whatever. But we're shooting for the launch date of Labor Day weekend. So that's what we're shooting for. I'm not gonna like etch that in stone and like put it on
Nope,
put it
you
on
heard
the
it here,
wall
people.
anywhere. But that's what we're shooting for. And we do plan to have at least 4 or 5 themes at launch. And that there will be at least one free one included during the launch. So yeah, but as far as pricing structure, they won't be super cheap. I'll tell you that.
Are you? Can you say whether or not you're going to go for a license or subscription-based model, or if it's you can decline to comment.
That still is being kind of hammered out exactly what we're going to do with that. I don't think that there's going to be any lifetime options of any kind. So yeah, but the particulars of that have still yet to be completely sorted out, so I don't want to go crazy. Get an email from Ryan from Alaska like, "What are you doing?"
Nice. Well, if we get you fired from your gig with Ryan, maybe you'll come back to Genesis theming. Part of our evil plan.
Did I just hear him say lifetime membership for everybody listening?
Pretty sure. Using code Rob said so.
Oh yeah, great, awesome, thanks.
Jennifer Bourne asked a great question. Thoughts on customization versus custom themes and the confusion there for customers. Actually wrote a blog post on this while we were live and sending that out. But yeah, so a custom theme means somebody's done some custom work on it. So if you buy a stock theme, that is not a custom theme. A customized theme, you can customize a premium theme, or you can create your own 100% custom theme. And I think that is probably confusing for clients. Jesse, how do you address that?
I address it based on my first thing that I do is I try to get to know the client and find out what their goals are, what hasn't been working, and what they're trying to go towards, and then I see if one of the current child themes does most of the job and we just need to personalize it, or if we're just going to go to a piece of paper and start wireframing. In that case, sometimes I will still do a customization because the style sheet is still there, but it's often just crack open a new PHP file and CSS file and go to town. It's a lot more work to do custom because you're creating the style sheet from scratch, minus maybe copy and pasting some menu stuff and header stuff, but it's a lot more work. 1,400 lines of code instead of editing code. Where is it?
You gotta be quick on the draw with the crickets, Jesse.
I'm sorry, it's on the internet. I couldn't find an app for it in time.
Oh, is that the kind of service and responsiveness you give to your clients?
Ouch.
So, Jesse, a question to you from Jan. You maintain a lot of sites, and I know you also facilitate hosting and do a lot of migrations. What's your method for keeping organized and scheduled and all that stuff?
My mind is very, very full. I'm all over the place sometimes, but I do my best because hosting is all in one spot. I keep all of my logins in one spot, and I can get to them pretty quickly just to keep tabs on things. As far as their themes and things, I often will do something really cool on a website and need to do it again 4 weeks later and forget which site I did it on. So I keep a local copy of every site that goes live on my local folder, and I'll just try to search for a function that kind of racks my brain, and I'll find it. So I keep organized by keeping all my clients in their own separate folder. If we're doing multiple revisions, I keep them in a year folder within their client. And everything is done written. If there's a phone call, I try to email them what we discussed, because I will forget what I had for breakfast. I'll walk into a room, forget why I walked in there. So everything gets in writing, and I can search it with Gmail. And that's my main organization tool, is just having things written down that I can use a search function on. Without search, I'm dead.
Good job. You got it out that time. Let's see. Jennifer is coming back and asking a follow-up.
Is she allowed to do that?
Yeah, you know what? I like Jennifer, so
Okay.
I'll let it slide. She's saying, isn't custom work on a theme not a custom theme, but a customization? Correct.
Yes.
I don't know what I said before, but if somebody else made it and all you're doing is tweaking it, that's a customization, not a custom theme. I consider a custom theme as in I built it up from scratch using whatever you know my tools of the trade are. But yeah,
I think what this tweet is saying is, like, what if you built a completely custom function or feature when she's saying custom work?
But I don't know. I don't know.
What are you guys talking about?
I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying right now.
Call us, Jennifer. We'll sort it out.
There was work done. Money exchanged hands. Whatever.
But on to that latest tweet. Yeah, don't set me forth on that latest tweet. My soapbox is downstairs.
I'm not even going to ask you about your downstairs soapbox.
But it's no longer the latest tweet.
Jackie had a question, or just what are thoughts on I tweeted out a couple of weeks ago, subscribe to Tom McFarlane's blog if you don't already at tommcfarlane.com. And he writes, some of his posts are technical and some of them are just good little thought-provoking numbers. And he's been writing a series on sort of what the WordPress philosophy is and how we have just sort of trampled it as a community in terms of the types of products we're offering. And WordPress has a saying, decisions, not options, and going back to it should work out of the box and be easy for the user, and how far away we've moved from some of those things philosophically. And Jackie, I don't know what thoughts. I haven't read through the last couple of posts, but I think Tom is spot on. Have you guys read that at all?
I got the email, haven't been there yet.
All right, it's in your productivity inbox.
I can search for it.
I only read one in the series so far, I think, so I'll reserve comment. I don't like to comment on things that I don't fully, at least kind of understand. So
that's nuts, Rob. Are you telling me that you like to fully understand an issue before you?
I try. I like to try.
There's no controversy in that. Come on.
It's true. It's true. Michael wants to know what is your local machine and how much hard drive space do you have? Either one of you can take that one.
Here we go. In my Mac Mini, I have an SSD with 240, and I have 8 additional gigabytes with 16 gigabytes of RAM.
Awesome. I've got this iMac thing that I bought like after my main machine died a while back, and it's got like I don't even know how much hard drive space, and it's so weird. Like I used to care about all this stuff, and I bought this stupid thing, and like I don't care anymore. It's just like this big screen that sits in front of me, and I just do stuff on it, and it works. So I guess I'm not worried about it. I do have a 2 terabyte ReadyNAS drive though, so which is infuriating on this Mac because it like is really slow to connect to it. So that's like streaming stuff off of it's like really agitating. So if you want to get a ReadyNAS and you've got a Mac, prepare to be annoyed.
I'm so glad you chimed in with a little mini rant. I've got we're gonna take a tour. Here's my MacBook Pro 15-inch, and then boop, that's the my larger monitor. And all I know is that I keep getting messages that my disk space is almost full. So apparently I've got a lot of crap on here that I need to kill. Let's see. Oh, Nikki's watching. Hi, Nikki. Is she just watching from the other room?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. Ginger says that our current awkward silent count is up to 5, and if we get to 10, then Rob is giving away free themes. Again,
Rob, don't say anything, Rob. Don't say anything.
There you go. Let's see. Aaron wants to know what we're using for browser testing. Man, that's a good question. I usually I've got, of course, Firefox, Safari, and Chrome all installed locally in the latest versions, and then I have VMware set up to run. I bought that just so I could look at things and explore.
That horrible thing.
Yeah, but generally speaking, yeah, that's about it. I do browser testing just to see how it generally goes out, and then to do responsive testing. That might have not been part of your question at all, Aaron, but I use just the built-in browser tools for that at the first levels, and then when it gets down to it, I didn't mean for this to be an awkward silence, but I'm trying to find this link. It's called Screen Queries, and it's a fantastic tool for mimicking mobile environments. And actually, Chrome now has a really great mobile emulator built in. I don't know. What do you guys use?
I use Andrea's Nuts and Bolts Media responsive page. It works for me. I'll go ahead and let her put it in there if she wants. I send it to my clients, and my clients can scroll all the way down and look at it, and I'm tempted to steal it, but I'm honest, so I won't. I just say, here's a nice person that has this nice page.
I should totally tell you something right now, but I won't because I like Andrea.
She told me. She told me.
Andrea.
Wait.
Wait. Did I blow awkward silence number 6?
Yes, you did. No, 7. We're
7.
at 6 now.
I can't keep up. God, I just gave you a golden opportunity. Andrea wants to know, make the case for developing locally. Here, Andrea, let me make the case for you. Do you like to FTP something every time you make a change? No? Develop locally. Jackie wants to know, how do you beef up your WordPress site security? Rob, what you got?
I try to steer clear of security too much. Like, it's What is so funny about that, Jesse?
I don't do site security. Let people hack my clients. I love it.
What?
It's actually, so here's the deal. So over on Ryan Sullivan's site, wpsitecare.com, they have a site security little a la carte offering. So Rob's master plan is to not do site security, let clients get hacked, and then he refers them to Ryan using an affiliate link. That's your MO, isn't it?
Yeah, if I had clients, I would totally do that. But
Just making accusations.
no, I don't know. Security is one of those things where, you know, if you tell people you know how to do it and you really don't, you can wind up getting yourself into a lot of trouble. So I just try to let people who are better at it than I am really dig into it. Like Chris Wegman, my friend, he's really big into security. If I have like a security question about something, I'll ask him a lot of the times. You know, I mean, he built better WP security, so I theme security now, right? Like,
Yep.
Yeah. So he's usually the person I'll go and ask about security issues if I'm worried about something.
And I should say, if you're in the unfortunate situation of getting your site hacked, Andrea Whitmer, who is at Nuts and Bolts, even though she doesn't develop locally, she does a great job at cleaning up infested websites. So get in touch with her if you should have that problem. I like all the quotes that are being taken out of context and shared on Twitter. You guys are on fire today.
Go, Chris. Mama.
Chris, I swear.
The last one's a golden one.
Oh my god.
Let's see. I'm sure there's some questions I missed. I'm scrolling back down through the amazing list of questions here. While I'm doing that, a little announcement. We will not have Genesis Office Hours live next week. I will not be here at my desk. So what we're doing is I'm actually recording that tomorrow, and my guests are going to be Curtis McHale and Angie Meeker. Both of them are freelancers that just incredibly smart and savvy business people. So I've got a form up at carriedills.com/GOH. It's at the very bottom of that page, and would love for you to submit your questions ahead of time so that we can address those on our next episode. And I'll publish it on Thursday. It just won't be live. And if you guys want to get on Twitter and tweet it up without me, you feel free.
It's at the top of the page.
Gosh, I mean, that was just... There you go.
That was like a long, drawn-out one, man.
That
what are you
was. That really was.
This iPad connection is just not very fast.
And because I know everybody is dying to know where I'll be next Thursday, I mean, because, you know, who doesn't want to know where I am every second of the day? I will actually be out at lynda.com recording a couple of courses for the Genesis framework. So super excited about that. You know what, Jesse? You were spot on that time. Excellent job.
You're welcome.
Chris, if you're gonna troll me, you should at least mention the flagship account in your tweets. you bastard.
Jackie is asking about tools that have subscription models, specifically Adobe Creative Cloud, which actually I was just tweeting hate tweets about Creative Cloud earlier because it comes with so many blasted updates. I mean, as often as Firefox updates, I think Creative Cloud is doing updates. And maybe somebody suggested maybe it's Java related. I don't know, but it's kind of annoying. So yeah, I use a lot of subscription-based software, so I guess I like it.
I won't do it. Not
Why?
Adobe. Because
Oh.
I like to own Adobe stuff for 15 years. for as long as I can.
I know, but they're not putting anything else out. So you're just going to ride CS6 into the...
I used
sunset?
Photoshop 6 until 2011. It did
Wow.
what I needed to do. In
I've heard people
2011,
like
I got
really.
PS5.
I heard people really don't like the cloud thing, like the Adobe. I haven't used it. Is it good or bad? Like I've seen people like
It's-
freaking out on Twitter about it like a number of times.
The nice thing about it is that your subscription gets you access to the entire Adobe Creative Suite. So if you want to, like Photoshop and Illustrator are pretty much where I'm always hanging out. But if you want to try out another tool, y'all are giggling over there. It's Chris Lemma.
It's Chris.
Chris Lemma, you're Madeirosing from Twitter. It's amazing. That just totally derailed me.
I don't even remember what we were talking about.
Well, I think we were talking about the GPL. Wow. Okay, let me. If we have missed a question, feel free to repost it because, yeah, we just derail ourselves.
We've had a couple people poke us about Theme Forest. I don't think people really want us to go there.
Theme Forest.
No. You're not going to be doing that.
I'm in the middle of one of those. It's 7 megabytes and 781 files. We're not going there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I had an interesting, speaking of sort of Theme Forest, but a Genesis Office Hours listener emailed me and commented that he's called himself a customer as opposed to a developer, just a theme customer, but that really cheaply priced themes scared him because it was, to him, it automatically was an association with poor quality. So I thought that was an interesting tidbit from the other side of the fence, if you will. Let's see. Jackie says, I wish they had the option if you wanted to opt out of CC to keep the current version. Yeah, that would be nice. Rob, did you send Chris Lemma a bowl of pissy Cheerios or?
I'm unaware. I don't know. I'm sure I've done something. I mean, that it kind of goes without saying. There's probably a laundry list of things that I've done.
Nice.
He's probably going to send you a nice scotch after this.
Oh, don't know about all that. A shout out to Rebecca Gill, who's on vacation, but probably, yeah, don't bring your crickets out. I'm talking, Jesse.
You said too many times.
Oh, well, I'll edit
Crickets
this
don't
out.
they don't like, they get all offended and they start making noise.
You know, thank goodness for editors that can get rid of all the ums, because I do have a lot of them. That's pretty much, here, let me give you the intro for my Linda Genesis course. Hi, my name is Carrie Dills. Just kidding.
I'm getting. I got my my credit card right here. I'm gonna buy that. I've got my wallet out.
Genesis Office Hours has no official sponsors, but if you would like to try out a free 7-day trial of lynda.com, you can do that with my very own author link, lynda.com/carriedills. Woohoo! Let's talk about the big Genesis update that happened this week. Genesis 2.1, now 2.1.1. Did y'all run into any troubles updating?
I had no troubles with the 3 sites that I updated. However, my life has been such that those are the only 3 I have touched. So I'm a little commentless at this point, but I did like it. Not crashing.
There you go. Rob?
I when they were running through the beta, there was some stuff, but once they got out into the actual release, I didn't have any issues or anything. The customizer stuff that they added is cool. I was happy to see that. I like the customizer to some extent. I think some people do some really odd things with it to the point where it becomes like this weird like color tool. Uh, I'm not 100% a fan of that, but like the customizer itself is like really cool. You can use it for all kinds of stuff. As like a developer, you can build it out to do all kinds of different things. Like you can almost make it into sort of like a page buildery type thing now that the widget customizer and stuff is integrated with it. If you build a template that is widgetized and you build it in such a way that you can kind of like restructure a little bit within the customizer itself, like you can kind of make it into a little bit of a page buildery type thing. So I've been doing a little bit with that lately, and that's cool. And so the additions, the customizer in Genesis were cool, and I I assume they're probably going to keep adding to some of that moving forward. It seemed like something that they were going to do. So excited to see what they do with that.
I've got a link. I'm looking for it to tweet out. WordCamp Las Vegas last year, Konstantin Obenlin did a great presentation on using the WordPress customizer, or the theme customizer. So if you're developing a theme, and it's not something you do for a client, because you'd be setting up their theme, and they presumably wouldn't need those customization options. But if you were going to release a theme out into the wild, that might be something interesting to look into. And I see everybody else's video on WordPress TV except for Constantine's, so I don't know what happened to that. Maybe I dreamed it. Anyways, yeah, going back to Genesis 2.1, I had 0 problems. I think I've probably updated across 6 or 7 sites without a hitch. So it's really nice when stuff just works. Let's see. Question. I feel like I missed. Oh, Matt Medeiros wants to know when my next theme is going to be released. Unlike Rob, I don't make date predictions. How about this? By Labor Day, Matt. So we'll shoot for. I'm going to find out what Rob's go live date is, and then I'm going to bump my announcement up to the week before his, so that I can steal his glory just a little bit.
Awesome. Make sure I put out as many false dates as possible.
Yes. Cool. We've got just a few minutes left here on the show, so please do shoot your questions to Jesse and Rob if you have burning questions that you would like to get answered. And wow, Rob, you are just being quoted all kinds of.
This is why I don't I don't blog very much, and it's usually not good. Like I'm just gonna sew my mouth shut and just speak in like pantomimes and like weird like stuff. I'm gonna get flashcards.
There it is. Rob, last week we talked a whole lot about pestering you for the Genesis Simple logo plugin, and I know you've got it up on GitHub and have done a lot of testing. Can you share the status of that?
Oh, yeah. That's been fun to make and kind of work with some people on like testing it and stuff. It functions, it works. There's we tested it with pretty much every default Studio Press themes, and even back to the XHTML themes, and it works. There were a couple of small hitches, but overall it seems to be working pretty well, and it is available on GitHub. You can link to it or whatever. There's one thing left that I really would like to get working correctly, where the way that it works now is it takes the image and it scales it with CSS, and ideally, I would like to generate a unique image for the different sizes that are required when you set the logo sizes and stuff, so that it always remains like nice and crisp and it looks good at all screen resolutions, including like Retina screens. So in order to do that, I borrowed some code from Rocket Galleries, which is like a plugin, like it's kind of a similar to Envira Gallery. It's just like a WordPress gallery plugin or whatever, but there's a function, a class in there that allows you to generate images on the fly. So I borrowed some code from that, and I'm working on getting that functional in the plugin, and I got it like kind of working, but there's all kinds of like that opens up a whole other can of worms. So making sure that the requests are cached and it's not going to like be loading a whole bunch of stuff and like creating like hundreds and hundreds of images sizes and all this stuff. So I've got it functional, but it's weird. So that's a different branch on the GitHub repo, and I wouldn't use that on a live site if I were you, even though it does technically work.
People will. I would.
If you guys, I'll bet you guys, if you want to do that, be my guest, but don't come crying to me when like your site explodes.
And you can quote Rob on that.
Yeah, I could see the waterfall of tweet quotes from that already. Like.
Lemma, that's your cue, Lemma.
So where do you think Genesis will be in a year? Any guesses of maybe the overall direction? I know that for those of you listening, you may think that that we have the insider ear, but alas, Brian Gardner does not call me every night to discuss upcoming plans, so I don't know what's official. But what would you guys take a stab at?
I just had a good one. Just say 500,000 more sites. I don't know. He doesn't call me either. He answers when I ask, but I'm pretty sure he would say I can't tell you. Okay, here we go.
We've done it. We have achieved over 10 awkward silences. I'm pretty sure we can call this a successful episode.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Jackie, I don't know what's coming down the pipe. I'll be interested to see. Little things like the theme customizer. So we saw that really come out in force, I think with the 2014 theme that was introduced in the fall of last year. So maybe it's kind of like as things pop up in WordPress, core WordPress themes, that some of those things will trickle down into Genesis, like the theme customizer. But that's a total guess. Let's see.
Looks like I have a question.
Well, you're seeing it and I'm not, so read it.
Davender is asking if I use anything besides Genesis. The answer is no. In fact, I will turn away projects that are not Genesis and they want to modify a theme. It's just not worth my time to try to learn their code structure and their functions. I work with Genesis because it's standardized code.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's not to say that other frameworks are bad, but if you're really niching down into specifically working with Genesis themes, for me, that's where I can be the most productive and offer the best value for my customers. So it's not that there aren't other good alternatives, although there are lots of bad alternatives. There's some good ones too, but I stick with Genesis, and we clearly already know what Rob's answer to that question is.
Hey, all the sites that I have up right now are on Genesis, so it's not like I don't still use Genesis.
Oh, we're just giving you a hard time because Rob, you have contributed so much back to the Genesis community in terms of knowledge share and code and helping, that if you want to go off and do non-Genesis themes, I support you. Make more space for us.
Well, thank you. I try to help out where I can.
Sweet. Just got a little tweet from Nathan Rice, and I invited him to be on the show, and he's going to get with me to schedule that. So look forward to having him on. And yeah, there you go. Okay, we've got a few minutes left. So before we close out, any new tools or plugins or things that you're just loving on?
I just found Members today by Justin Tadlock, thanks to Curtis McHale and Norcross. So I've started digging into that just for the purpose of user roles, and it does a whole lot more. And then there's also Genesis Style Trump. It goes on every site along with Gravity Forms.
I've never heard of Genesis Style Trump. What's that about?
Some girl in Texas made it.
Huh. Huh.
I'll let you know if I find her.
Yeah, shoot me a link. I'll have to take a look at that.
Seriously, it's on like 60 sites already for me.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Rob, what's in your toolbox?
Oh my God! Like I've been so like I literally I was said on Twitter earlier that like I had to shave. I wasn't joking. Like I had to cut my hair and shave. I look like a homeless person. Like I've been so out of it for the past like month straight, just like working on stuff for Flagship and all the other stuff that we've got coming down the pipeline. I've been so like out of it. So I don't have a lot of new tools. Like the Bourbon and SAS and all that kind of stuff is relatively new to me. So that's kind of what I'm driving on right now. Like I don't know if people are familiar with like Bower is really cool. It's like a package manager for like basically script libraries, like JavaScript libraries, SAS libraries. It works kind of the same way that Node package manager works, where you can just kind of tell it what you want it to install, and then tell it to install it when you start up a project, and it'll automatically grab all that stuff and pull it in for you. So I don't know if that's like I don't know if that's something that people would be interested in learning, but it is pretty cool. And then especially if you use Grunt as well, you can like integrate it into that, and like it gets really super cool. The setup of all that stuff is weird the first time around, but after you get through that initial pain of the like learning how to set it up and get everything kind of up and running, and believe me, like it was painful for me when I first started like getting into all this stuff, and I was like, man, this is such a waste of time. Like I don't know why I'm bothering with it, but I decided one day I was like, I'm gonna learn it. And once you get through that first step, it's like, oh, how did I ever not use this stuff? I'm saving so much time with mundane tasks that I was wasting so much time on before. So that's kind of anything you can do to kind of automate things for yourself is beneficial, and it's worth the pain of getting used to doing things a different way.
Agreed on the automation. I spent about half my day yesterday setting up Grunt and trying to get all of that, just try to figure it out. And it's, like you said, a kind of a pain to wade through. But now that it's set up, I'm looking forward to having those tasks just done. It's cool. All right. Well, on that awkward note, we will sign off of today's episode, number 17 of Genesis Office Hours. Do check us out on iTunes. You can download the podcast there if you just want to listen and not watch while you're on the run or mowing your lawn. Also, if you want to check out the Genesis Office Hours community on Google+, by joining that, you'll just be sure to get email notifications of each upcoming episode. And that's it. No crazy spam, just keeping you in the loop. Guys, I really appreciate your time today. Y'all are fun.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks. This is cool. You've done a really good job with this thing, Carrie. It's awesome.
Thanks, Rob. You're the inspiration. That's right. Well, heard it first here.
That's unfortunate for you. I'm sorry.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in to the show and participating over on Twitter. And don't forget to go to carriedills.com/GOH and submit a question for Curtis and Angie sometime today. That would be fantastic. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
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 What? No outro music?
It wasn't playing. I hit the button, it didn't play. That's the internet for you.
Okay. Fair enough. Bye.
Bye.